Well, good afternoon and welcome to this special broadcast that we're bringing to you here from the heart of the city, right at Parliament buildings. Of course, we're here today to anticipate what might happen as the Minister of Finance will be tabling the budget for the 2025-2026 financial year. With me also this afternoon, we have Mr. Lamek Odada, who is an economist and economic commentator. Shall I call you that, economic commentator?
All works same way.
Good afternoon and thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
And especially so because you say it's your birthday today. So happy birthday to you from all of us here today as well.
Thank you, Nina, and thank you, NBC team, for having me.
Thank you so much for your time. Well, before we delve into, of course, what we can expect in just a bit when Parliament does officially start, we want to just backtrack in terms of what last year's budget presented. Now, we know that the budget, of course, was tabled by the former Minister of Finance, that was Ipumbushimi, under the theme Economic Revival and Caring for the Poor. The 2024-2025 budget came to a total of 100 billion Namibia dollars, and that included 3.2 billion in project funding outside of state revenue, and also 12.8 billion Namibia dollars in debt servicing costs. The operational budget was projected at 74.6 billion dollars. So that's a bit of background in terms of what happened prior to the tabling that will take place today. But Lamek, I want to get into our conversation right now. Now, last year's national budget contained the government's revenue, spending, etc., borrowing plans, as well as, some of the key priorities. Let's start from there. What did that mean at the time?
Yes, of course, we must remember that was also the first time that the Namibian budget hit the $100 billion mark. So it was another milestone. And as you can see, very many things are happening in the country. We are achieving so many milestones. At that point, we also had projections on how the debt level was going to be reduced. Of course, it was also a time when we had just remember, we were just coming out of COVID.
Correct.
So the Minister of Finance then did a very good job. We must commend him for that. And actually, what we expect to see now will not deviate very much from the trend that we have seen. We are going to see what is meant for example, reducing the debt level, etc., which ministries will get what. So the plan will still remain. The order will remain the same. The only difference is with this realignment of ministries, the merging of ministries, what do we expect?
Yes.
We definitely expect large amounts because the ministries are merged.
Do we expect larger amounts, or is it because they've merged we expect less?
Of course, because they are merged, I'm assuming that the amounts will go up. But my focus is now going to be on education, which is now merged with youth. One of the biggest problems we have is youth unemployment. And then we've also had issues on the side of education. Now we've put this together. So how much money are we going to put on youth and education at the same time? Because we are saying for us to have a learned community, for us to have a youth that can be employed, they must be learned. So it's a very good realignment, even though the ministry is now big. But I think what the president is thinking is that my youth needs education for them to be able to be employed. So a very good way of thinking, and I'm going to put more focus onto that today. And I hope that Madam Shafuda will really think, even though somebody may say I'm being biased because I'm from the education sector. So I hope so.
But that has been the norm. We've seen in the past that when it comes to our national budget, that education, was one of the ministries that would get the chunk of that budget. Health was another one. Do you think that we'll see the same consistency this year, and what other areas do you think need to be a priority? Yes,
of course. You remember why are these two areas very critical? Remember the health. We need every region to have hospitals with medications, to have proper schools where kids can go to school, whether it's primary, secondary, or tertiary. We need these kind of things to happen. But I would also want to see that there are these new emerging sectors like the oil and gas, which has been in the periphery for some time, and the fact that it has now been moved into the presidency, I think the president is now going to have some focus on that area specifically. So apart from education, health, of course, remember defense. is one of them that always get something.
Yes.
So that we really don't need to discuss, but would also be more interested in seeing what would happen to oil and gas as the emerging sectors.
Yeah. You mentioned unemployment, and that's a consistent topic of discussion. And you can't speak about unemployment within the country without mentioning the young people, because they're the majority of the population that suffers or is affected by unemployment. What specifics would you like to see in terms of budgetary movements and empowering young people to be able to make an income?
Yeah, the bigger thing I would want to see is how much money are we putting to help the startups, for example? Are we going to be able to relax the requirement? Are we going to put more money to be accessible to the SMEs, the startups? That's a question. The other thing that really needs to happen very fast, and I think it's a conversation that's going, that this huge requirement for experience for first-time people who are being employed is a big problem for us in the country. So some of those things, even though we are going to put money there, we should also start to think that for those who are trying to help themselves, can we also relax the requirements for them to access the funds? But it's not only accessing the funds, it also has to do with mentoring. It's needless giving you so much money, I leave you with that money wondering, I don't even follow up on you and asking you, how are you spending it? So some basics of financial management, business management skills should be put up together with this funding that we are making available for the startups, the innovations, and the ETCs. But the unemployment of the youth is also something very critical, and that's why I say that having merged education with youth, are we also going to make sure that the youth have got access to quality education? Those are some of the key things that we need to see. Will there be enough money that if they proceed to the tertiary institutions, they will be funded so that they don't drop out? Those are some of the key issues we want to see in the movements of the money in between, and we hope our Minister of Finance will really be having that at the back of her mind to say, surely we need to have access and funding for these young people to be educated.
Yeah. I think another thing that the Namibian public might be looking forward to hear this afternoon is also what the Minister says around taxes, and sin taxes maybe more particularly. Let's just unpack that quickly and what you predict might happen there.
I just hope we don't go the South African way of increasing the VAT.
Yeah.
In fact, if there could be any more tax relief, then we'd all enjoy. But of course, different people have got different opinions on what they would want to see. But for sin taxes, we don't have a problem. If that increases, it's fine. Even though the people who sell those sin goods will be saying maybe we'll not get customers. But if we are increasing those taxes but reducing other taxes to put more money into people's pocket, it would be welcomed. We just hope that we don't get into a situation that we are going to pinch the already squeezed citizens further. So it would be interesting to see what they do in the tax space.
Yeah. Back quickly, Lamek, to the merging of the ministries, and now we have a smaller cabinet with only 14 ministers now and 7 deputies, I believe. With the wage bill now on that matter, with it, do you think it will reduce and be cut down due to the fact that we've also slimmed down on cabinets and the ministries and merging of certain ministries?
Yes, of course, definitely. You see, we've now reduced the number of ministers, we've now reduced the number of deputy ministers, and we have also probably reduced the number of executive directors. So what we expect is that there will be some saving, but of course, it will not be something very huge. Yeah. But I think with time, as we move by, that's why I'm saying the next 5 years are very interesting times for the country, because we've got a new president who's speaking, saying that we are going to walk the talk. Yeah. So definitely we will see a reduction probably now, but with time we may be able to see the larger impact.
Well, we also have seen, of course, that the parliamentarians have gathered within the chambers, and I believe that we will be starting quickly. But let me make an interesting thought, and I think that many people are wondering, is if this year's national budget for 2025-2026 is the budget of the new minister, or perhaps it's a continuation of the legacy of Minister Ipumbu?
In my own thinking, I think it could be a continuation. Remember, the appointment time could be very short, but I think we will see very real and meaningful changes when we do the review, the midterm review. Yeah, but for now, I would really expect largely of it to be a continuation of the former Minister of Finance, Honorable Shi.
One thing we didn't touch on, which you did allude to, was the country's debt. Let's unpack that quickly.
Of course, remember by the time we had the last budget, we had seen some reduction in the level of debt, and I hope the new minister will be putting an eye on that to say if we can steadily reduce it over time, then we are in good space. What we do not want to see is again borrowing such that that level spirals up again. The measures that should be put in place are strict measures that will make sure that those debt levels go down. So it means how quickly do we repay, how much are we going to set aside on repaying the debts, how quickly are we going to also be able to collect revenue? That's where NAMRA will come in, and you've seen NAMRA has been doing a very good job under the leadership of Commissioner Shafuda, and I hope they keep on working collectively with the Ministry of Finance to help the country grow faster and also to reduce the level of debt as fast as possible.
Well, just to give our viewers at home once again a recap of the statistics, starting with our debt servicing cost, which stood at 12.8 billion Namibian dollars. Also, the operational budget, as I mentioned earlier, stood at 74.6 billion Namibian dollars, and the civil service wage bill adjustment of 5% amounted to 1.7 billion, and obviously to safeguard against purchasing power erosion. Debt maturity, the largest single debt maturity in the history of the country, is the $750 million Eurobond that was due on the 29th of October 2025. And then the fiscal strategy on that note, the government aims, of course, to maintain a primary surplus over the medium-term expenditure framework, and also consequently maintain the budget deficit below 4.0% of GDP by the end of the MTFE. However, we saw that the budget of the 2022-2023 directed towards boosting social safety nets, which include old age pension funds, as well as orphan and disability grants. The former finance minister said that the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget maintains three interlinked fiscal policy actions, which is pro-sustainability, as it reinforces the government policy and spending priorities, as well as the budgetary framework outlined in the fiscal year 2022-2023 mid-year budget review. I'd like to touch on, the pensioners and the grants that they're receiving. I remember prior to President Hage Geingob unexpectedly passing away, one of the things that he really wanted to do was to increase that. And then when we had the next tabling of the budget, it didn't increase as much when the former finance minister eventually did table the budget. I can't specifically remember what his reasons and specifics were as to why the increase was what it was at the time. But in terms of that, do you think that we'll finally get to the figure that President Hage Geingob had in mind, which was quite a lot? $3,000, I think it was, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you may think it's quite a lot, but remember the responsibilities that our old people are having. We've got some people who are moving from the villages to try and come look for jobs in Windhoek, and now they've left their children with the elderly. So ideally, the elderly, what happens now is that the money that they get from the grants is what now they use to feed the younger kids that they are with. And I understood what His Excellency, the late, was trying to do, that if we do not take care of our elderly people, who probably do not have somebody working in Windhoek who could sustain them every month, then the government should have done. And therefore, that was in my view, that was the thinking of if they could reach the $3,000 mark. However, when it came to the real budgeting, the Minister of Finance didn't have enough funds to execute, and therefore he only increased it a bit. But I wouldn't be surprised even if the Minister of Finance continued to increase it, even though I did not expect it to reach 3,000 mark immediately. But over time, it will increase, and I think it's the best thing to do. We shouldn't argue about it. These are people who liberated the country for us. They've taken care of us to go to school. Even though we are not able to give back to them, if the government is able to, we should be happy and support that.
Well, Lamek, just your final thoughts before we do cross over to the chambers. I know, of course, we'll have a more in-depth conversation and have a better understanding and lots to discuss once the budget has been tabled and we see where where this fiscal year's finances will be allocated to. But just your final thoughts quickly.
Yes, I just hope that Madam Ericah keeps it to still $100 billion mark. Do not bring it down. If you can put it up more than that and we can sustain it, I would be very happy. But we wait to see in the next few minutes of what is being tabled. Yes.
Well, as I mentioned, we're coming to you from the heart of the city here at the Parliament to bring you all the news, of course, related to the 2025-2026 national budget that will be tabled in just a bit by our new Minister of Finance, Ericah Shafuda. We have seen, of course, visuals of parliamentarians steadily coming into the chambers and about to start very soon. After that, once the budget has been tabled and we've heard all the details, we will come back with Mr. Odada to unpack what has been discussed. But for now, we take a very brief break.
Lisa hails from the mighty Zambezi region and is in the hospitality industry. She is a food enthusiast and specializes in traditional cuisines. Fresh bream can be sun-dried by exposing the fish to the heat, which sterilizes the fish quickly.
So we're gonna put our veggies.
Against cyber threats such as hacking and ransomware, provide our teams to collaborate with private or experts to enhance email services. What is the government's stance on civil servants using personal emails for official correspondence?
Public funds, financially sustainability and better service delivery. The Namibian government has incurred significant expenses on office space rentals in the recent years, with a notable example being the former Ministry of Sport, Youth and
In this special program, Nina Katangana sits down with two trailblazing leaders, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Africa's first democratically elected female head of state, and Nobel Peace Prize laureate.
We have responsibility to ensure that the nation succeeds in its goals.
And Emma Theophilus, Namibia's Minister of Information and Communication Technology.
Our country is maturing in our economy, maturing in our politics, maturing in so many aspects of not being a so young country anymore.
Together, they explore leadership, legacy, and the future of Africa. Don't miss this insightful discussion on Thursday at 9:15 p.m. only on NBC One.
In the small town of Kalkveld is a sanctuary for children in need, started by a mother and continued by a daughter.
The orphanage has really changed my life, and it truly shows that their interest is none other than making sure that a Namibian child becomes something in life.
It's challenging though, because it's children from different backgrounds.
Find out more by tuning into Legends of Change, exclusive to NBC TV.
Mr. Premier, catch the repeat of Faces of Green Hydrogen in Namibia every Sunday at 18:30 on NBC One. Don't miss the story shaping Namibia's green energy future.
The Secretary will now read the bill a first time.
Appropriation Bill.
Okay, so the Minister was supposed to table the bill, even if there is a copy there. Yes. Yes, Honorable Venani.
This side is already started with the conclusion. It's going to be a rough ride. But the Honorable new Minister is an old ED. She used to bully us with our figures. Now that she's here as Minister, where is the bill? Table the bill.
Very good. Very good.
Now we can start bullying.
The Secretary will now read the bill a first time.
Appropriation Bill.
Does the Honorable Minister of Finance and Social Grants Management move that the bill now be read a second time? Yes. I move. So move. Okay. So move. Any objections? Okay. That's the list. Any objections? None. Who seconds? Agreed to. The Honorable Minister now has the floor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, honorable members. It is with deep humility and honor that I present my maiden statement as follows. I am Ericah Shafuda, former civil servant in the government of the Republic of Namibia, and also a former international civil servant in the UN system. And I really thank Her Excellency Dr. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah for bestowing on me and appointing me as the Minister of Finance. Now I got the subject. Honorable Speaker, honorable members of Parliament, fellow Namibians, in terms of Article 126, subsection 1 of the Namibian Constitution, it is my singular honor to present the maiden budget under the administration of Her Excellency President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah and the 8th Parliament of the Republic of Namibia. The budget proposes for the 2025-2026 financial year and the corresponding medium-term expenditure framework, and they are anchored under the theme Beyond 35 for a Prosperous Future. In addition to celebrating 35 years as a free and independent country, the theme also serves as a clarion call on all of us to redouble our efforts to create an even more prosperous future for our beloved Namibia. While we have made significant strides over the past 35 years, more still needs to be done to ensure a more inclusive, fair, and equitable economy that works for all our citizens. Therefore, as we were formulating this budget, we have at the back of our minds the need to make the necessary provisions to heal this call as much as the resources envelope permits. I wish to share my conversation with a community member of Dimeopolis, a settlement that is hosting 1,000 people, and it is located 40 kilometers outside of Hobabes. This community member, who is an unemployed youth, informed me that he wished he could access money to show his potential. Today, I reflected on that conversation, and I believe this budget provided an answer to his wish. I will elaborate on that later. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, in terms of economic, fiscal, and financial conduct, the global economy continues to hold steady despite divergent risks and heightened policy and geopolitical uncertainty. In its latest World Economic Outlook update that was released in January 2025, the International Monetary Fund estimates growth at the global level to be at around 3.2% in 2024, before increasing marginally to 3.3% in both 2025 and 2026. The global growth remains below the 2000 to 2019 historical average of 3.7%, weighed down by subdued consumption and consumer confidence, stalling disinflation as well as elevated policy uncertainty. Over the medium term, the balance of risks to the global economy outlook is tilted to the downside, with global growth poised to continue edging lower. A multitude of near-term risks could further reinforce growth divergences across countries, including a potential intensification of the protectionist trade policies in the form of a new wave of tariffs that could worsen trade tensions, lower investments, distort trade flows, and again disrupt supply chains. These risks are of a significant concern for the domestic economy, given not only our open economy, but also in the context our posture as a logistic hub for trade flows in the region. On the commodity prices front, international energy prices are projected to trend downwards during 2025, driven by, among others, subdued demand in China and strong oil production from countries outside of OPEC. This development bodes well for domestic inflation dynamics. Nonetheless, potential downside risks remain, including continued geopolitical tensions with risk of generating fresh adverse supply shocks. Meanwhile, non-fuel commodity prices are broadly anticipated to increase somewhat, potentially renewed by risks from economic policy shifts and geopolitical tensions. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, economic prospects in sub-Saharan Africa are estimated to lift slightly, with growth projected to increase from 3.8% in 2024 to 4.2% in 2025 and 2026. The growth prospects for the region largely reflect the resilient domestic economic activities and the subsiding impact of the negative weather shocks, although the impact on food costs is anticipated to persist in the near term. From the domestic economy, development and outlook, we have to inform the honorable member, honorable speaker, honorable members, that the domestic economic prospects remain broadly positive. Although activities weakened marginally during 2024, the Namibia Statistics Agency, in the national accounts that were published on the 20th of March 2025, indicated that economic activities expanded by 3.7% in 2024 from 4.4% in 2023. The moderation in growth was largely on account of muted global demand for key commodity exports, such as diamonds, coupled with drought conditions which depressed agricultural production. Furthermore, the high inflation and interest rates during the first half of the year weighed negatively against consumer spending power. As a result, the growth momentum waned despite the strong drive in mineral exploration activities during the latter half of the year. Nonetheless, the continued weaknesses in the diamond sector and the subsequent adverse impact on domestic activities remain a key source of vulnerability. Thus, measures to further diversify the economy will go a long way to lessen the impact external shocks on economic outcomes. In addition, adverse climatic shocks have become more frequent and intense in recent years, highlighting the importance and urgency of all of us adopting climate change adaptation measures to increase resilience against climate shocks. Going forward, we project GDP growth to pick up to 4.5% in 2025 and 4.7% in 2026. The strong growth is anchored on activities in the mining sector as uranium and gold prices, as well as exploration activities, remain broadly favorable. Further reinforcement is anticipated from the agricultural sector on the back of normalizing rainfall patterns, while the wholesale and retail sector is expected to benefit from improved consumer confidence boosted by tax relief measures that were implemented in 2024 and ease monetary policy stance. In addition, sentiments remain positive across many other sectors of the economy, such as tourism, transport and storage, financial services, and electricity generation. Regarding inflation dynamics, domestic prices moderated to an average inflation rate of 4.2% in 2024 from 5.9% recorded in 2023. Similarly, the latest data prints for February 2025 points to abating inflationary pressures with an annual inflation rate of 3.6%. In line with abating inflation pressures, monetary policy has eased, thereby bringing much needed relief to corporate and household balance sheets alike. Nevertheless, credit extension remains broadly subdued despite elevated liquidity. The inflation outlook and the subsequent monetary policy path going forward remain highly subject to external price shocks and exchange rate developments. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, fellow Namibians, while we welcome the strengthening economic activities, we remain acutely aware of the pervasive and entrenched national challenges such as high unemployment, poverty, and income inequalities. The pace at which the economy has been generating jobs remain inadequate. In line with the new administration commitment to solve for social challenges, we need to redouble our efforts into fostering conditions to promote job growth through accelerating improvements in the business climate as well as tax and regulatory frameworks. In this context, measures to address skills gaps and policy coordination barriers will be the context of our fiscal and economic policy framework moving forward. Honourable Speaker, in terms of fiscal policy development, on the 28th of October 2024, the financial year 2024-25 mid-year budget review was tabled in this August House, shifting the global expenditure ceiling for the financial year to $101.2 billion Namibian dollars. The preliminary indicators at the end of February 2025 show continued strong and improving fiscal fundamentals. In this context, total revenue collections stood at $84.4 billion Namibian dollars, translating into a collection rate of well over 90% of the first 11 months of the financial year 2024-2025. Revenues from corporate income tax, value-added tax, and income tax on individuals show strong year-to-date collection rates and are expected to outperform the mid-year estimates. Meanwhile, dividends from public enterprises have been reduced significantly owing to poor outcomes from Namibia holdings in line with the significant decline in global diamond prices over the period. Furthermore, a total of $1.6 billion Namibian dollars in anticipated dividends from imminent dissolution of the Namibia Post and Telecom holdings has been deferred to the next financial year, that is 2025-2026, as a stopgap measure against anticipated weaker revenues in the coming financial year, as I will elaborate on shortly. In addition, I am pleased to report that between April 2023 and February 2025, we have collected a total of $3 billion Namibian dollars on various tax categories through the ongoing tax amnesty program. In this regard, we would like to appreciate the efforts of the Namibia Revenue Agency for their strong drive in mobilizing domestic revenue resources and ensuring that the fiscus is able to meet its obligations despite significant revenue headwinds, especially from the diamond sector. Balancing all the above factors, Honourable Speaker, Honourable Members, we have subsequently revised our estimates of revenue for the financial year 2024-2025 downwards by $1.2 billion to a total of $90.9 billion Namibian dollars. Regarding non-interest expenditure, the preliminary outturn at the end of February 2025 stood at $72.9 billion.
In this special program, Nina Katangana sits down with two trailblazing leaders, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Africa's first democratically elected female head of state, and Nobel Peace Prize laureate.
We have responsibility to ensure that the nation succeeds in its goals.
And Emma Theophilus, Namibia's Minister of Information and Communication Technology.
Our country is maturing in our economy, maturing in our politics, maturing in so many aspects of not being a so young country anymore.
Honorable Speaker, from the budget policy pillars, we have just celebrated 35 years as an independent nation. While we have made significant strides on a lot of indicators, we are still faced with economic challenges and pressures to accelerate development, create jobs, and broadly improving the living conditions of the Namibian people. Accordingly, we have formulated this budget with that context in mind, prioritizing allocations to the following thematic areas. The budget has made provisions to support and facilitate economic development through continued investments in infrastructure such as housing and informal settlements upgrading, education, water, power generation, and health facilities, among others, to unlock economic opportunities and ensure delivery of social services across the country. Despite the revenue shocks, we have sustained allocations to various social protection programs in consideration of the need to continue safeguarding livelihoods, support the most vulnerable sectors of our society, empower the youth, and protect gains in social matrices. We have also made specific provisions to address youth empowerment programs and capacity enhancement activities. And the budget made allocations to various initiatives to promote food production and stimulate agricultural activities given the elevated instances of drought and the need to improve food security at the national level. In this context, Honorable Speaker, and in terms of Article 126, subsection 1 of the Namibian Constitution, it gives me then pressure to table for the favorable consideration and approval of this August House the 2025-2026 financial year appropriation bill and the estimates of revenue, income, and expenditure for the medium-term expenditure framework. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the accompanying documents, namely the 2025-2026, 2027-2028 medium-term expenditure framework, the development programs for the same period, as well as the fiscal strategy for the same period, will be finalized and subsequently published on our website to the members of Parliament during the course of next week. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, turning to the budget for the 2025-2026, the medium-term outlook and fiscal policy stance. This budget is being presented against a very challenging fiscal environment. From a revenue perspective, we have experienced notable headwinds, which in turn has significantly constrained the available resource envelope during 2025-2026 financial year. In this regard, we estimate total revenue to be around 92.6 billion Namibian dollars, a moderate increase of only 1.9% from the revised estimates of the previous year. The substantial strain on revenue emanated from a 6.9 billion Namibian dollars reduction on SACCO receipts, which is confirmed at 21.1 billion Namibian dollars. Similarly, activities in the diamond sector remain subdued, resulting in muted contributions to the fiscus. Nevertheless, we estimate improved performance on several domestic revenue streams. In this context, VAT is estimated to increase by 2.6 billion compared to the revised estimate for the year 2024-2025. Income tax on individuals is estimated to increase by 1.8 billion Namibian dollars, while non-mining company tax are estimated to increase by 1.3 billion Namibian dollars over the same period. Moreover, cognizant of the constrained revenue outlook, we have deferred the utilization of 1.6 billion Namibian dollars in dividends from Namibia Post and Telecom Holdings company following the dissolution of the company to the year 2025-2026. In addition, roughly 450 million Namibian dollars from the sale of the remaining 9% shares in the mobile telecom company have been shifted to the next year estimates. Dividends to the tune of 720 million Namibian dollars is also anticipated from the Bank of Namibia. Revenue growth is projected to average 5.2% over the medium-term expenditure framework period, reaching the 100 billion Namibian dollars mark for the year 2027-2028. In the outer years, the revenue projections incorporated cautious estimates of receipts from the mining sector, cognizant of muted global demand and the subsequent unfavorable global commodity price developments. Furthermore, moderate increase in SACCO revenues and several domestic revenue streams have been considered in line with the postulated growth context. Overall, we project revenue as a ratio of GDP to remain strong, averaging 32% over the MTEF. While we have done the utmost best to take a conservative approach in our forecasts and consider potential downside risks, the revenue outlook is still subject to elevated uncertainties, particularly in the global economy. Nevertheless, we have committed to manage government finances in a prudent manner that ensures long-term fiscal sustainability through achieving sustainable budget deficits and public debt. Honourable Speaker, honourable members, fellow Namibians, the relatively poor revenue outlook for 2025-2026 financial year, as I have already outlined, poses challenges in the resource allocation actions, redirecting us to employ a more rigorous approach in determining key and most impactful priorities to accelerate service delivery, address the most pressing needs, and improve infrastructure development. In this context, I am tabling before this August House a budget of 106.3 billion Namibian dollars for the financial year 2025-2026. The total expenditure consists of 79.8 billion Namibian dollars for the operational expenditure, 12.8 billion Namibian dollars in the development expenditure, including 3.2 billion Namibian dollars in development projects that are funded through external loans and grants, as well as 13.7 billion Namibian dollars in interest payments. The budget represents an increase of 4.9% from the revised estimates of the preceding financial year. The operational budget, like I have already indicated, is estimated at 79.8 billion Namibian dollars, and it has grown by 2.3% over the 2024-2025 financial year mid-year estimates. Meanwhile, to continue addressing infrastructure bottlenecks that weigh against our growth potential, the development budget has increased by 22.6%, that is to 12.8 billion from the revised estimate for 2024-2025. This inclusive of 3.2 billion in project finance outside the state revenue fund. As a ratio of GDP, the development budget is equivalent to 4.6%, an improvement from 4.2% in the prior year. As indicated prior, for 2025-2026 financial year, we have budgeted 13.7 billion Namibian dollars to meet statutory debt servicing obligations, equivalent to 14.8% of revenue and 4.9% of GDP. We remain concerned that we expend more resources on debt servicing than we pour back in the economy to grow our economic potential through the development budget. As such, there is a need for continued measures to contain the pace of debt accumulation so as to curb the rising debt servicing costs. We are therefore committed to maintain public debt on a reduction path and ensure that debt is raised in the most cost-effective manner. On balance, we aim to achieve a positive primary budget balance of 0.3% of GDP during the financial year 2025-2026. Subsequently, the budget deficit is projected at 12.8 billion Namibian dollars in nominal terms, which is equivalent to 4.6% of GDP. In the interest of pursuing fiscal sustainability and debt stabilization, we aim to maintain a primary surplus and consequently the budget deficit at an average of 4% of GDP over the MTEC period. From a financing perspective, for 2025-2026 financial year, it is anticipated to be an eventful year. In this context, the government is faced with imminent redemption of $750 million Eurobond, and that's going to be redeemed on the 29th October 2025. In this regard, we have succeeded to accumulate $463 million in the sinking fund over the past financial years. Going forward, we aim to further add another $162 million to the sinking fund during the course of this year and before the maturity of the bond. Effectively, this will leave a balance of $125 million which will be refinanced through the domestic market. Given the prevailing interest rate levels, we believe it is most optimal to source funding from the domestic market, considering the sufficient liquidity levels as well as the demonstrated appetite for government securities. Nonetheless, going forward, we aim to carefully balance the annual domestic financing requirements to avoid crowding out the private sector funding. Furthermore, we will employ a combination of funding from multilateral organizations to finance infrastructure projects, as well as exploring potential off-budget financing solutions in partnership with the private sector. In addition to redeeming the Eurobond, the government is also making substantial principal repayments to settle the IMF Rapid Financial Instrument financing to the tune of 2.3 billion Namibian dollars in the year 2025-2026, and the final tranche of 1.2 billion Namibian dollars in 2026-2027 financial year. This is added to the periodic redemption of various domestic bonds. We are confident that the envisaged funding approach will stabilize the debt stock over the medium term. Overall, the total public debt is estimated to moderate from 66% of GDP in 2024-2025 financial year to 62% in 2025-2026 financial year. Furthermore, subsequent to settling these two hard currency obligations, over 80% of our debt stock will be denominated in domestic currency and thus insulated from exchange rate risks. We believe domesticating our debt portfolio will strengthen the domestic capital markets while providing an avenue for deploying domestic capital in the domestic economy. As customary, the detailed borrowing plan for the issuance of domestic securities will be disseminated to market participants over the coming weeks. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, now turning to tax policy and administrative reforms. On the tax policy front, the proposed 2025-2026 national budget contains macroeconomic and tax policy proposals aimed at supporting economic growth through boosting domestic demand, broadening the tax base to improve revenue mobilization, and enhance the competitiveness of the tax system to attract investments and foster private sector development. The proposals are as follows. Amending the schedule of zero-rated commercial properties to include state-acquired commercial properties. Increasing the retirement fund single accumulation threshold at retirement from 50,000 Namibian dollars to 375,000 Namibian dollars to provide relief for senior citizens. This intervention will increase the disposable incomes of senior citizens, offering them a significant cushion against the erosion of the purchasing power by the high inflation experienced in recent years. Finalizing the VAT registration on imported digital services to even the playing field with domestic service providers, considering the exponential growth noted in the consumption of digital services. Introducing the annual tax benefit cap of 400,000 Namibian dollars on housing benefits to improve fairness of the housing fringe benefit across income brackets, given the progressivity between employer groups, the private and the public. Introducing an anti-avoidance provision to ensure that substance loans disguised as preference shares are deemed income and non-tax exempt to stem revenue leakage of approximately 41 million Namibian dollars. That's on an annual basis. Due to the constrained revenue outlook, the provisions to adjust all tax brackets for inflation creep will be postponed to the two outer layers of the MTEP. That is, they will be pushed to 2026, 2027, and 2027, 2028. In this regard, a total of 712.9 million Namibian dollars per annum in direct relief to taxpayers has been provided for over the 2 years. The establishment of a dedicated tax court is at an advanced stage, and we expect to table the requisite legislation during the course of the year 2025-2026. The draft bill in this regard is under review by the legal drafters. As previously communicated, the non-mining company tax rate will be reduced by 3 percentage points during the MTEP. Accordingly, the tax rate has been reduced to 30%, which took effect on 1st January 2025. Furthermore, to improve Namibia's competitiveness, we confirm the reduction in the non-mining tax rate to 28% during the year 2026-2027. This is undertaken concurrently with other measures to broaden the corporate income tax base, including introducing a 30% limit on interest deductions, capping assessed losses carrying forward, and introducing a 10% dividend tax effective January 2026. In conjunction with the Department of Industry, we are finalizing the special economic zones regime, as well as the annual turnover threshold for SMEs, to benefit from the corporate income tax rate of 20% to be proclaimed under the proposed special economic. To aid with the resource mobilization, NAMRA has completed the research and benchmarking exercise regarding introducing an e-invoicing system for VAT registered persons. Consequently, the project implementation plan as well as the layman's bill have been finalized. The e-invoicing is anticipated to be rolled out in April 2026. This initiative will lower administrative costs, improve information accuracy, and curb VAT fraud. Once again, the tax amnesty program, through which interest and penalties owed to the state will be fully written off if outstanding capital is fully settled. This program will continue until 31st October 2026, so please make use of it. We urge all concerned taxpayers to make the necessary arrangements with NAMRA and participate before the expiry date. Lastly, Honourable Speaker, honourable members, in line with Article 21 of the SACCO Agreement, a 6.75% increase in excise duties on the consumption of alcohol and tobacco took effect on 12 March 2025 as follows. A litre of sparkling wine will cost $1.20 more. A litre of absolute 750 milliliter bottle of spirit will increase by 5.5 $5.53. Cigars will cost $3.69.36 more per kg. Fortified wine will increase by 64 cents. Spirits will cost $18.52 more per liter. And a pack of 10 cigarettes, the duty rise by $1.04. Administrative efficiency priorities over the MTF. In addition to the tax measures elucidated above, the government will continue to undertake various reforms to promote a conducive operating environment for the private sector, improve administrative inefficiencies, and address bottlenecks in service delivery. In this regard, the following issues will receive attention over the MTF. The Ministry of Finance will explore an efficient solution or solutions for rolling out the social safety nets. The Ministry of Finance has finalized an assessment of the procurement system using the methodology for assessing procurement systems. Subsequently, the Ministry will prioritize the implementation of their recommendations to address the identified bottlenecks in the procurement system. In addition, efforts to create a dedicated procurement court to address bottlenecks in the procurement system are at an advanced stage. The Ministry will further strengthen oversight measures to improve, and this one please, to improve efficiencies and realize savings on the Public Service Employee Medical Aid Scheme called FEMAS. The Ministry of Finance will conduct regular auditing of government redundant assets. The Office of the Prime Minister has introduced a voucher system redeemed by beneficiaries at local retailers. This initiative digitalizes and automates the distribution of food parcels and provides efficiency gains for the food relief distribution programs while also empowering local retailers. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, on the 2025-2026 appropriation bill, allow me to provide a synopsis of the main budgetary provisions across the different sectors and programs in the financial year 2025-2026 appropriation bill. As I have indicated earlier, the 2025-2026 financial year, that's the budget, prioritized allocations to promote economic development, protect social spending while promoting domestic food production. In this context, the budget allocations are aimed primarily to sustain ongoing operations while addressing pertinent emerging issues as follows. A total of 24.8 billion Namibian dollars has been allocated to education, innovation, arts and culture in the year 2025-2026 financial year, and some 76.1 billion Namibian dollars over the MTF. The budget of the Ministry of Gender Equality and Child Welfare stands at 473.6 million Namibian dollars in 2025-26 and 1.5 billion Namibian dollars over the MTF. The vote of sport, youth and national service has been allocated 1.3 billion Namibian dollars in 2025-2026 financial year. This allocation, please listen to this one. This allocation includes 200 million Namibian dollars for the construction of Category 2 stadiums across the country. Another good news, another 200 million Namibian dollars for basic sports infrastructure and 50 million Namibian dollars for sport leagues. The allocation also considers support for various youth programs for skills development and capacity building. The Board of Health and Social Services will receive 12.3 billion Namibian dollars and a sum of 37.5 billion Namibian dollars over the MTF. With that allocation, we have availed 780 million Namibian dollars in 2025-2026 and 2.7 billion Namibian dollars over the MTEP in the development budget to expand the network of health infrastructure countrywide. The end goal is to reduce congestion at state hospitals and improve the quality of services broadly. Accordingly, consideration has also been made for additional personnel in the health sector as well as pharmaceuticals and clinical supplies. During the financial year 2025-2026, the Board of Transport will receive a total of 2.7 billion Namibian dollars. In addition to fast-tracking the upgrading of the railway network, this allocation also caters for the completion of ongoing road construction projects, including rural feeder roads to schools and clinics. Over the MTEF, the vote will receive 6.9 billion Namibian dollars. This vote will also benefit from dedicated external loans for upgrading the Kransberg-Potchefstroom railway section as well as various roads. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a total of 2.6 billion Namibian dollars for the year 2025-2026 has been availed to the vote of agriculture and land reform. This includes dedicated allocations for improving food systems as well as the Green Scheme program, including phase 2 of the Nekatal Dam irrigation project. The vote of water and marine resources is allocated 956.5 million Namibian dollars in the year 2025-2026 and 3.2 billion over the MTEF. The budget of the Ministry of International Relations and Trade stands at 1.2 billion Namibian dollars in 2025-26 financial year and a total of 3.8 billion over the MTEF. The budget of the Ministry of Mines and Energy and Industry is set at 939.5 million Namibian dollars in 2025-2026 financial year and some 2.8 billion Namibian dollars over the MTEF. A total of 797.6 million Namibian dollars has been availed to the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism. The Ministry of Information and Communication Technology has been allocated 898.5 million Namibian dollars and a sum of 2.8 billion over the MTEF. The Ministry of Finance has been allocated a budget of 14.6 billion Namibian dollars in the year 2025-2026, including 7.2 billion Namibian dollars for the various social grants. A total of 100 million Namibian dollars has been budgeted for Mitchell Corporation Namibia. Meanwhile, 320 million Namibian dollars has been provided for TransNamib in line with the ongoing exercise to improve efficiencies and STEM infrastructure and operating strategies. In addition, a total of 350 million Namibian dollars is provided in the contingency fund to cater for unforeseen emergencies in the financial year 2025-2026. The Anti-Corruption Commission has been allocated 116.5 million Namibian dollars in the year 2025-2026. Over the MTEF period, the vote will utilize a total ceiling of 407.1 million Namibian dollars. The vote of Home Affairs, Immigration, Safety and Security receives 7.9 billion Namibian dollars in the next financial year. In this allocation, provision of over 80.3 million Namibian dollars has been made for the ministry to roll out a biometric system. The vote will utilize 23.9 billion Namibian dollars over the MTEF. Spending on the vote of defense is set at 7.5 billion Namibian dollars, adding up to 23.2 billion Namibian dollars over the MTEF. The judiciary has been allocated 601 million Namibian dollars in the next financial year and some 1.7 billion Namibian dollars over the MTEF period to ensure speedy delivery of services. The vote of justice receives 494.1 million Namibian dollars and a total of 1.3 billion over the MTEF. The budget for the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development is set at 2.7 billion Namibian dollars for the next year, and over the MTF, the board receives a total of 8.5 billion. The budget of the Office of the Prime Minister stands at Namibian dollars 636 million for the next financial year and 1.9 billion Namibian dollars over the MTF. The National Assembly, our beautiful house, has been allocated 398.2 million Namibian dollars and some 1.2 billion Namibian dollars over the MTF. The Office of the President is allocated 1.5 billion Namibian dollars and a sum of 4.5 billion over the MTF. The Electoral Commission of Namibia has been allocated a total of 438 million Namibian dollars in the coming financial year to ensure smooth and timely voters registration, as well as to undertake the elections towards the end of the year. The detailed breakdown of the expenditure allocations and revised ceilings for the various votes are available in the appropriation bill before you. Conclusion. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, as I conclude my remarks, and this is very important to all of you, I would like to assure all Namibians of our commitment to the continuous pursuit of fiscal sustainability to ensure that our public finances are sustainable over the long term. I would like to express our sincere appreciation as a country to the international community as well as our development partners for heeding the call of our President last year, Dr. Nangolo Mbumba, when an emergency or national emergency was declared due to the drought. The support we received, both monetary and in kind, went a long way in supporting government programs to ensure that we supported the most vulnerable members of our society in the face of elevated food insecurity. Allow me to end by thanking Her Excellency Dr. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah for the trust bestowed upon me to manage the national affairs. I am indebted to the Director General of the National Planning Commission, Honorable Kaire Mbwende, for the great collaboration. I'm also grateful to our predecessors, Honorable Ipum Bushimi, and the former Director General, Mr. Obed Kanjode, for laying the foundation of this budget. Equally, I express my appreciation to my colleagues in Cabinet, as well as to all of us in this House, for your support, understanding, and forbearance as we attempted to deliver the national budget within a shortest period of time. To the Executive Directors, Mr. Titus Ndove and Mr. Michael Humabindu, and their respective technical teams at the Ministry of Finance and the National Planning Commission for the deep sacrifices they made, especially over the past 2 days, as we attempted to finalize the budget and be in conformity with the provisions of the State Finance Act. Lastly, we appreciate the efforts of NAMRA in mobilizing revenues for the budget, as well as the Bank of Namibia for the fiscal advice rendered to us. Together, we achieve. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for that budget statement. Any further discussions on the budget? Okay. So now, I recognize Professor Mpanda.
Yeah. Speaker, thank you very much, Speaker. Thank you very much, Ms. Ericah. She's being disturbed.
Who is that one disturbed?
Yeah, thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. I have patience for you because I imagine doing such a serious responsibility in a short period of time.
There is made mention of the attached documents that are going to come, the company, next week. Can that also, Speaker, can also it be, because we are hearing details about 13 billion that we are paying into loans, so that there can also be some sort of attachment. Usually, there's no attachment usually in details. So we would really appreciate how are we performing that 13 billion breakdown is a euro bond or all those, so that we are able to understand, instead of just being told, no, it's 66% to GDP. So that it can be comprehensive enough, so that it gives us an opportunity to study, to have a thorough understanding, because budget is not just the figures of what everyone, we want to do a proper job. And that proper job requires a departure from the past. Instead of just celebrating this 20 million, no. We want to actually understand where are those figures going, who are we paying, what is basically happening. So those documents that are usually never accompanied, we really appreciate it as we proceed.
Yeah, thank you. Professor, those documents are usually available as part of the budget. I think today we are only challenged because they were not ready. Otherwise, you were going to get your full file. But I'm sure that when you do, all of that information would be available. I recognize Dr. Yes, it's a very detailed submission because I come from that background, very detailed. If you read those documents from cover to cover, you actually get all the information that you need. Yes, Dr. Upindi?
Honourable Speaker, in the absence of any further contribution, may I propose that the debate be postponed to Tuesday, the 1st of April, where I'll make my contribution. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Honourable Minister, there is a proposal to defer the discussions until next week. Is it Tuesday, you say, or Thursday? Tuesday? Is there a hand there? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay, Minister, before I come to you, I see there are requests for the floor here. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm still hanging on, waiting for the Speaker.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I just want to understand what Professor has asked. We want to know how long is this document will take, so that we can go in and analyze and look before the utilization of this budget is gone.
Okay.
Thank you.
But it seems as if your mic is not working, because even I am struggling to hear you. Okay, but I did get what you are saying. I think he asked when the documents will become available, so that they have enough time to study the documents in time for the commencement of the debate. You will have the opportunity to answer, Minister. And now I give the floor to the honourable member.
Thank you very much for the floor. My name is Martin Kato, President of National Democratic Party, NDP. Honourable Speaker, members of Parliament, honourable members, and the leaders of various political parties in the chamber. I want also to humbly request this respected chamber to give us 2 weeks to study this important national because this budget, the budget in question, it comes from previous government regime. So in this moment, we need time to study it, so that when it will be endorsed, the masses of this country, they should be appreciated. Yes. So this is my humble request, to give us time. I thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Yes, thank you. Honourable member behind there.
Speaker, I'm just wondering in terms of procedure, and in terms of established parliamentary custom, whether it is not the place of the official opposition to actually postpone this debate, and then the rest of us who want to add to that particular debate then follow. Speaker, if you were at induction, you'd understand, because in fact, just the other day we were talking about established procedures and customs of the House. So I think where the rules are quiet, Honourable Speaker, and I think this was your submission during that training, that where the rules are quiet, we will go by established procedure.
Yes, I am concerned that the mics seem not to be working properly because we are struggling to hear people speak. I don't know whether it's the volume on the gadgets or it is actually the system that is problematic. But the Secretariat should please take note and deal with that. Yeah, I note your questions. I think that is, I will come to that. I want to respond to, there was another hand. Has anybody now taken everybody taken the floor? To respond to Honourable Hengari, it has been a tradition that the official opposition is, allowed to adjourn the budget debate, but they are not compelled to do that. And I did not observe anyone from the official opposition asking for the floor to adjourn the debate. Yeah, so because the official opposition is the political party that has the largest number of votes on the side of the... No, Toby is not a... Yeah. So I did not observe anyone from the official opposition asking for the floor to adjourn the budget, and therefore I considered the honourable members who asked for the floor. Yeah, because we cannot compel them to adjourn the debate if they don't wish to do that. Yeah, so now what we need to discuss are the issues that are raised here, the queries, including maybe from the Minister of Finance to assist us there.
Honourable Speaker.
Yes, Honourable
Speaker.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you for the opportunity, and also thank you, Honourable Minister of Finance, for the budget that was tabled. We would really like to request that, since the budget has been tabled, that the debate be postponed until at least the 8th of April.
Can you introduce yourself? Which party are you coming from? Yeah, like I said, the system is not yet set to indicate the names of the MPs and the parties they represent. So if you can please just say who you are and what political party.
My name is Rodney Kluter from the Independent Patriots of Change. Chief Whip.
Okay, so yes, Chief Whip of IPC, as Honourable Hengari said, it has been tradition that the official opposition would ask to adjourn the debate on the budget, but there was no indication from IPC. So really, that created a problem because I looked around here and there was no one asking for the floor.
Speaker, if I may interject, your eyes were just staring that side. The fact has been operating every time you see a ghost of Swapo everywhere. Hence, Honourable Toby entertained you.
No, Honourable Speaker, it's not about who was first and who was last. It's the issue of procedure. So you could have requested the official opposition to do their job. You cannot, it's not rush game. We are not scoring points, it's procedures.
No. Honourable member, that is not correct. All of us here know what our responsibilities are. really somebody cannot say they did not ask to adjourn the debate because they were not asked by the Speaker to do that. The Speaker cannot probe people to get them to indicate whether they want to speak or not. Yeah. So this is just a tradition that says, since this is a government bill, we would want to hear the views of the opposition, and since there is an opposition party that is bigger than others, we give them that courtesy if they want to adjourn the debate. But if they don't, I cannot try to cajole them to adjourn the budget. So, debate. Honorable DPM.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. First of all, let me congratulate the Minister of Finance for a well-informed budget. I want to inform the colleagues, especially from the opposition side, that on Tuesday, the budget is postponed until Tuesday. That does not mean on Tuesday you will not partake in the debate. That only means on Tuesday, the first person to start, it will be Honorable Toby Opindi. But all of you, anyone who wants to take the floor can equally take the floor. That's all what it means. So there is no harm. There is no harm. Don't feel like you are closed outside. You will not take the debate.
Speaker, please.
Yes.
Point of order.
It's all what I wanted to inform the House.
Speaker, is the system showing? Speaker?
Yes, Honorable Ankanda.
Yeah, thank you very much, Speaker. We must thank the God that created you with at least a calming voice. You have been very considerate, and we have been inducting one another. And in that process of inducting one another, we were giving each other a latitude. And Speaker, you have been leading that process very well. And it's a straightforward matter. We are inducting one another. I don't know why we want to close the door. We have said it that this is a tradition. The matter is on the table. I don't take it that there is consensus that the debate is already postponed, because after it was put to the table, the question was asked. We are dealing with that question of Honorable Hengari, which the Speaker is dealing with. Will it harm, will it do anything to ask the IPC to exercise that tradition? It won't harm anything. Speaker, yeah, I'm talking to the Speaker. So it won't harm anything for us to, Emma, you are young, don't shout.
He picked on someone who is younger than himself.
You are very special. You are very special. So I think, Speaker, let's give them an opportunity. To be able to engage. I don't think I don't take you are asking us to discuss. You asked. I didn't take Honorable Toby's intervention as an endorsement. Yeah, so the issue is still alive. I'm proposing, Honorable Speaker, let's give them an opportunity. And once we give them an opportunity, if the opportunity is not taken, then we can proceed. But if the opportunity is taken, then we are good to go.
Yes, thank you very much. I saw a hand there. You have the floor, Honourable Member.
Honourable Speaker, Honourable Member, thank you very much for the floor. I want to stand on ensuring that Honourable Speaker, I am Aloysius Kangulu, IPC members of Parliament. I do not find, Honourable Speaker, in conformity with Article 18 of the Namibian Constitution in terms of fairness and act reasonably. Because if we are to be reasonably and the compliance with our rules, that could only be the way moving on, else it could not be correct. Now, Speaker, I want to call you towards that fairness that is stipulated in Article 18 of the Namibian Constitution. Thank you very much. Yeah. Now you are in opposition. Point of order.
Honourable Speaker.
Members, Honourable Members.
Honourable Speaker.
Honourable Members, you see.
Honourable Speaker.
No, before I give you the floor, you know, this does not become an issue of somebody's right to do this, that, or the other one. You know, as I have said, when the minister finished presenting the statement, I asked whether there are further contributions, and the official opposition was supposed at that point to say that they want to propose an adjournment to the debate. They didn't do that. You know, I kept looking that side. I couldn't get anyone. Yes, you must. Let's listen. No. I will not give the floor. We are not going to have a debate on that issue. No. I am not giving you the floor, Honourable. Just take your seat. Take your seat. Take your seat. Take your seat. This is not. You must acknowledge where you have fallen short. Maybe you can say, I'm new, I didn't know. But don't try to make it an argument like somebody is trying to rob you of something, a right that you have that is being taken away from you. We have made an attempt to hear you out on your proposals on when we can resume, and you didn't. And we needed somebody to adjourn, and somebody made a proposal. So now the only thing... No, you don't have the floor. You cannot call the speaker to order. Take your seat. Yeah. So you take your seat. You cannot just interrupt the presiding speaker. You ask for a point of order when another member is on the floor. You cannot. No, you don't have the floor.
I'm asking for a floor.
No. I must finish saying what I was saying. You are arguing with the presiding officer now. You are setting a bad example for the new MPs. We are trying to induct. And I can see that they are showing eagerness to learn, and that is why I'm showing flexibility. But if you are now confusing them, when we are trying to guide them, you are trying to lead them to violate the procedure.
Speaker, we are not confused.
No. You are out of order now, Professor. Take your seat. You are out of order. No, I said already I'm not giving the floor now, because what I see is what we want to debate this issue. We cannot debate the issue. I'm not giving any floor on that issue. I have said it already. So I'm saying I gave you the opportunity to adjourn. You did not take that opportunity up. Somebody else took up the opportunity. Now we have to consider whether we have to resume on that date for that honourable member to make the contribution, and then we adjourn further as is usual practice. But the challenge that I'm faced with, and this is, yes, it is correct, there is absolutely nothing wrong. You are arguing with presiding officer and you are out of order. You are out of order. You are out of order. Switch off your mic even. I'm trying to find a solution, and I'm trying to find a solution to say, because the budget is a different type of a bill, where we agree on a calendar, on a budget calendar, I'm now constrained to agree to an adjournment of the debate on the bill that is similar to other bills, the non-budget bills, because the non-budget bills, the one who wants to adjourn, you come, you make a contribution, the one who wants to adjourns again. But when it comes to the budget, we have to have a calendar. and say this week or these 2 weeks, we are going to have the general debate. This party has this much time. You see, that is what is constraining me. And because of that, I am now challenged to agree to an adjournment until Tuesday, because we need to develop that calendar, you know, that would enable us to allocate times to different political parties. Yeah, so that is really the challenge. That now you can have the floor.
Honorable Speaker, you are bullying the member.
Yes.
But Honorable, we are creating a very wrong precedent here. It is never done. And there is conventions that guides it. That a member of the ruling party of the executive tables the budget. And immediately, the member of the same party adjourns the debate. Listen, we listen to your argument.
Yeah, you are
I think we must create the conventions, comply conventions correctly. Due to the fact that there was a delay from the official opposition not raising in due time, does not negate them the responsibility that they have in a democracy, that they must have the right of reply to the budget. The Speaker must allow the official opposition to have the right of reply. How would Tokyo Opindi now react on their own budget? This is not democracy.
I think the honourable member did not say anything new. Honourable member, you wanted to be heard, and now the moment you are done, you are now making it difficult for us. Now, what I'm saying is that the opposition was never denied the right to move for the adjournment. The opposition did not move for the adjournment. But I have already indicated in my explanation that because we need to have that schedule that would enable us to have a continuous program of debating the budget, I am now, comrades, honourable members, we are not helping the situation. I see now that we have 5 or 6 people asking for the floor. And I don't know whether we are asking for the floor to propose alternative adjournment date, because only now that IPC, which is the official opposition, has indicated that it wants to adjourn, it is only IPC that we are going to listen to in terms of the proposal for adjournment. So I think really all other requests are just delaying the process unnecessarily.
I'm not on that.
So I just wanted to explain that part to say what is being portrayed here as a violation of a right or denying them a responsibility is not correct. So hopefully next time around, when there is a call for the adjournment of the budget debate, the official opposition would know. It's not a matter of delay. There was no way of me knowing that the indication was going to come in a delayed way. Yeah? So there was no delay, there was simply no indication. But there is an indication now. And I would like the Minister of Finance to respond. There is that proposal to adjourn the budget debate to the 8th, I believe it is, of April. And there were those other queries that were raised. Can you please assist?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honourable. Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Thank you very much to all members for having listened to my statement. I would want to confirm that the request by Honourable Prof. Ampanda for that schedule of debt servicing and so forth, that's going to be provided together with the other documents. And then regarding the proposal for the adjournment to the 8th, Your Honourable Speaker, it was going to be good if we meet each other halfway, say to the 3rd of April. I shall submit.
Okay, let me look at that. Today is the 20th. Yeah, usually, honourable member from IPC, usually we adjourn the debate on the budget for a week, around a week. So I think the 8th really is too far. That's one. Number two, this budget is tabled late because there is a new administration. These funds that we are considering for appropriation under the budget are needed by public institutions to implement programs. So the focus is not only on us in Parliament, it is also on the need to make sure that resources are available. And we are going to have a schedule, as I have indicated, that would allow IPC to speak more than once. So it's not like if you have not said everything when you respond on the 3rd, if we agree on that, then you will no longer have an opportunity to speak. So we have to reach an agreement on the date that is mutually convenient. Yes, you have the floor.
All right. Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Then we would like to ask for an adjournment in line with one of our opposition members, Mr. Topi Opindu, for the 1st of April. Thank you.
What is your proposal to when?
1st of April.
To the 1st of April. Oh, okay.
No. Tuesday, 1st of April, 14:30.
Tuesday, 1st of April. Minister, is that okay? That's okay. Agreed. Very good. Agreed to. Yes, Honourable.
Yes. Thank you very much, Speaker. My name is Ims Nashinge, a representative of the people from the IPC political party. Maybe just in short, with due respect to the Speaker, I think we are going too much into circles instead of just going to the point. There is no crisis here. Even now, when you were concluding before he took the floor on the issue of the budget delays and whatnot, the law provides that you can use 40% of the budget without approval. There is no issue here.
No, that's not true.
It is.
That is incorrect.
It's correct?
No.
So can we just, Speaker, I sense an attitude of intimidation here. So let us work as a team. It's too early. It's too early for these infightings and whatnot.
Honourable Nashinge.
Clarity, and then we finish, we go to the next point. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honourable Nashinge, IPC has proposed that the debate be adjourned to the 1st of April. So if there is no consensus within IPC, that cannot be brought to the floor of Parliament. So the Minister has agreed to the proposal and the budget is adjourned to the 1st of April. Thank you very much. And Honourable Nashinge, it is true that there is a percentage, there is a limited amount that is allowed under the law to be expended before the budget is passed, but it's not 40%. It's 1/3 of the appropriation of the previous year. And we cannot say because of that we can now do this. So I think it's okay.
Extra 10, it's 30%.
Thank you very much.
There's just one
now,
issue. Speaker, there's just one.
Yes, Honourable.
So thank you very much, Speaker, for your we didn't deal with, which is the availability of documents. So these documents cannot be available next week. Because if these documents are available next week, basically it means you might be arriving, they must be available even tomorrow. People must work overnight. These are very important documents, and we appreciate you thanked the ED and you say they worked very hard, and I'm sure they are listening when you are thanking them. We must again ask them and thank them in advance to work and tonight and bring those documents, because we are compromising. Because it can't be we are sending it to the first, fine, we agreed, you assisted as Speaker, and now we are going to come to Monday without documents. So if we can resolve that, to say documents are going to be available tomorrow, and then people have a weekend to study.
Yeah, thank you very much. Professor, I would suggest that we agree that the documents would be available as soon as possible. So I will find out from the Minister of Finance, because it doesn't help us to just say tomorrow, because we don't know where they are with the preparation of the documents. And I also know that they appreciate the importance of getting these documents out to enable the members to review them so that they are prepared for the discussions. So it can even be considered that the documents are available as they are ready. So they don't have to all be finished before they are available. But we will find out from the Ministry of Finance how soon these documents can become available, so that we really have informed discussions in the House on the budget.
Okay, fine, Speaker. We can, but the problem
you will
is,
be informed also, ne?
Yes. So the problem is just that it's a budget. We need to prepare. We need to make an informed decision. Yes. It's not a by the way issue. We can say maybe it's too. We need to have a date.
No.
Because, Speaker, the problem is that what if they tell you they can only be available on Tuesday? What are you then going to do?
Let me answer. When we are done, I'll answer that.
Yeah.
question.
So, if the minister can answer, maybe she will assist us on there. But the idea of just committing to see, we will discuss and see. I'm sure she's capable as an ED, former ED. This document will be available. Maybe let's give her a chance to respond, Speaker.
Yeah, honorable member, let's agree that the Ministry of Finance would have to confirm the soonest that these documents will become available. And I have no doubt that the minister and her team appreciates the importance of sharing these documents with members of the House. And I know for sure, as somebody who has been at the Ministry of Finance, that those guys don't go into the office at 8 and leave at 5 o'clock. They go into the office sometimes at 7 o'clock and leave at 11 p.m. So they do have an appreciation and they are hearing you. But really for us to just, come up with a day that is based on nothing, that may result in the documents not coming tomorrow and then we are disappointed, I don't think it adds value. So leave it to the presiding office. We will get the confirmation from the Ministry of Finance, and before the end of the day today, that information will be shared with the members of Parliament as to when those documents are coming. Yeah, please. Okay? Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. That was the only item that we had on the agenda. So with that, the House rises until Tuesday. Oh, just a moment. What? Honorable members, let's take our seats. Let's take our seats. Now the House would rise, but not before the Right Honourable Prime Minister has moved that the House next week. Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Comrade Speaker. The House stands adjourned until Tuesday next week.
2:30.
2:30.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Our dear Speaker, you miss your previous job.
Lisa hails from the mighty Zambezi region and is in the hospitality industry. She is a food enthusiast and specializes in traditional cuisines. Fresh bream can be sun-dried by exposing the fish to the heat, which sterilizes the fish quickly.
So we're gonna put our veggies, green pepper, a lot of tomato. Remember to thicken the sauce.
Dried fish, also known as stockfish, is a traditional food consumed in many households. It is also known to be very healthy and rich in proteins and flavorful. Lisa's way of cooking is quite unique, as she adds her special ingredients to the pot and added just enough water to bring it to the boil. The dried fish is served with porridge. Fish is rich in calcium and phosphorus and a great source of minerals and considered to be a valuable source of omega-3 fats. Namibia Fish Consumption Promotion Trust, bringing fish to the nation.
Bring you an in-depth analysis, of course, of what was spoken about and how the budget has been allocated. But with me right now, just for a quick review of what transpired just a few minutes ago, is Deputy Speaker Philip Katamelo sitting with me here. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, and thank you, and good afternoon, viewers.
Well, of course, I think this budget, many Namibians anticipated. They were excited to hear, what the allocations would be, what the priorities would be for the country for the next financial year. But your thoughts just off the bat concerning the budget?
Well, first, one must commend the Minister of Finance in the period of the reasonable time that she was appointed, that she could really produce a formidable budget. I mean, it speaks to the values and the dedication and the charisma and the expertise that she brings towards the table. Herself is not new in the financial sector, having been a former AD. I think she was associated to the International Organization of the United Nations. So in terms of the knowledge, skills and expertise, which is come very handy, one must really commend her for what she has done within this short period of time to produce a budget. I think we all agree that to produce a budget of a country of this magnitude is an enormous task, and it's not an easy go by. So that's the first thing, to commend her for really compiling the budget and being able and have. I think too, it also goes on with the statutory rules and legal requirements to say the budget must be tabled within a month of March, because the new financial year slips over in the 1st of February. So there is that legal intent, and then there is that commitment to do everything above board, and then to enhance, even with the required time, to appreciate what she has delivered today.
Of course, we don't have the time and the luxury to break down what each ministry was allocated. But were there any surprises for you, or was it more or less what you had expected?
No, it's more or less what you expected coming out of SO. We're having a tough debt reconciliation that she tries to address. One of those formidable things is to look at expenditure. His Excellency has done very good to bring down the ministries. I think that going forward will also have a positive impact. All other offlows will also have a positive impact. I think the tax on terms of beverages and others, they will not be so happy. But I think it's more a measure of saying you should be able to consume what you can afford. And moving forward, I think that's one of the most commendable things. But in overall, I think it's more or less what we expected. Going forward, she will have enough time, she will have enough knowledge, and to put things into practice and to address the needs in terms of the objectives that we intend to achieve.
Mr. Katamelo, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Chaos.
Well, after this brief break, we have some more conversation. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Well, we'll now have the lady of the hour with us. That's the Minister of Finance, Ericah Shafuda, to talk to us, of course, about what's just been tabled in Parliament. Good afternoon and welcome.
Very good afternoon and good afternoon, Namibia.
I think, first of all, let me also just congratulate you on your appointment before we get into the nitty-gritties of what's happened today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Yes, thank you.
I know that time is not with us. I'll try to keep it brief. You mentioned, of course, that the budget was created on 4 pillars: economic development, social protection programs, youth empowerment, and food production. Should you just unpack that for us really briefly?
Yeah, no, thank you. Of course, trying to unpack all that. The details are in their respective votes. But like I have indicated, economic development, we have really looked at the infrastructure that have been allocated substantial amounts. And this infrastructure, for example, include the upgrading of the railway, your roads, the housing. We also know that there is a need for informal settlement upgrading. So that is also part of that socio-economic development pillar. Yes, I try to think and I believe that if those projects are really implemented as per the allocations, there will be greater impacts in that economic development pillar. So on the social protection, that is basically the social safety nets, the grants, that we are providing to the needy, of course, including also the pensions that we give. And then, of course, the youth employment or youth empowerment. There is substantial amounts that is spent for the youth. And again, when you go to the specific votes, you appreciate how much really is allocated to each one of the projects under the youth empowerment. So, yes, food production. We made, as a government, we made it a priority to say that it will not do as good as Namibia to be importing food when we have the land. And in most of the parts of the country, there's water. So emphasis is on investing on the irrigation schemes that maybe might be needed, and also to train and empower also smallholder farmers to ensure that they have the means to produce food. Yes, my hope and my dream is that in one of the days, Namibia would be food self-sufficient. Or we should even say food sovereignty is what we should chase for. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Just one last question, and perhaps I wasn't listening attentively enough, but I didn't hear exactly where allocations would happen for, SMEs, etc. So just talk to us about the plans in terms of budgetary allocation for that sector.
For the SMEs? That's
correct.
All right. You might have heard me saying that under the economic proposals, there is a component of where we will be working, that's Ministry of Finance and the Department of Trade. We have to come up with a threshold, right, really on the definition of SMEs. But there is a specific allocation that is in the budget, and they say provision financial support for SMEs. And first we should really redefine the threshold of who is an SME.
Right.
But there is money allocated for SMEs.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Also, Deputy Speaker Katamelo commended you for putting together this budget in such a short period of time. Was that the case, or was some of part of the budget a rollover from what Honourable previously the Minister of Finance, Honourable Ipumbushimi, had intended, or was this a complete new budget that we've heard of today?
No, there was really great part of the work that was done by my predecessor. I believe the marathon comes when you have not to put all what you have gathered from the various consultations that you have had. When you put that one now into a document, that is where it takes your time. And I think that is what we were saying. We really spent considerable time, sleepless nights, in fact, to produce this document. Reason being then that because of the shortest period that we were working around the clock, there are still documents, especially the ones that are tabled for information purposes, that still need to be completed, printed, and then shared with the members of the public and also the members of the National Assembly. These being the development budget, for example, the medium-term expenditure, and then the fiscal policy strategy, which ordinarily could have been accompanying the appropriation today and the estimates of revenue and expenditure. Yeah, it's just because of the limited time that we had. Imagine from Monday to be tabling the budget today. But we made it, and yes.
We're looking forward to the other documents and reading through them as well.
Yes.
Just your final words this afternoon to the Namibian public?
No, thank you once again. First, I should really thank NBC, as always, to facilitate our talk, and this our talk to be listened to everyone, whether in Namibia or outside Namibia. And I congratulate you also for that service. As for the Namibian people, and as far as what I have tabled today, I would want the Namibian people to hold accountable offices, ministries, and agencies when it comes to the implementation of those projects or activities that have been funded in a particular financial year, so that then we attain or we achieve greater impacts, because that is the reason why we have allocated the funds.
Fantastic.
Once again, thank you, Namibia. Thank you so much to
Madam
you, Nina.
Shafuda, thank you so much for being with us, and all the best.
Thank you so much. And you can see I'm tired. I'm not going to sleep, but I'm brave. I'm still fine.
You deserve the rest. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you so much. Thank you. Over.
Well, there you have it. That was the new Minister of Finance, Madam Ericah Shafuda, speaking to us there. We'll be back shortly. Well, welcome back. We are now joined by Madam Ina Hengari of the PDF Member of Parliament, who also, of course, was a part of the proceedings today. Good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being with us. So just to start with your overall thoughts on the national budget, which was tabled today for the 2025-2026 financial year.
Well, I think overall, as somebody that has been in the House for quite a while now, with a little experience, especially from my first term, one does feel like the budget was rushed, and there wasn't much time to draw up a budget that not only speaks, I'm not just talking about one that speaks to the struggles of the day-to-day Namibian, but also that speaks to the new structures as introduced by the now President, Honorable Her Excellency, Madam President Nadine Daitwa. So I think...
is this the merging of ministries?
The merging of ministries. Of course, in text, one would also expect to see that reflected, because if you look at the breakdown of the different votes, you would still see that a number of ministries are still counted as separate entities, while Cabinet has announced and the President announced a new structure. So one would have expected at least that the budget as a maiden budget, especially of the administration, reflects that change. So again, I go back to the point of, I just feel perhaps there wasn't enough time to really necessitate those changes so that it now reflects on text, and it's not just what is communicated by the executive to the general public.
What aspects of the budget, because you have scanned through it like some of us have, what aspects of the budget are you satisfied with?
I am particularly satisfied and surprised with the allocation to the Anti-Corruption Commission. I'm positively surprised, actually. I think it's a welcome development. In the past budgets, one would observe that over 70% of the budget allocations to the Anti-Corruption Commission would not go to fulfill the constitutional mandate of that institution, but rather to paying salaries and dealing with, all these other issues. So I think with a bigger budget, you have at least enabled or created room for the effective carrying out of the mandate of the Anti-Corruption Commission. Of course, throwing money at institutions does not solve issues. And we will not defeat corruption in our country by throwing money at those institutions. But I do think there is hope for the Anti-Corruption Commission. And it is a welcome development that they now have at least the room to expand in order to meet those mandates that are assigned to them.
MP Hengari, you represent a portion of the Namibian population which is inundated with matters around unemployment. Talk to us about your thoughts on what the budget has spoken about in terms of job creation, etc., and youth empowerment.
I think very little in this budget, in fact, has been said about the youth unemployment crisis. Yes, beyond, of course, facilitating that each person has the resources, or they get access to the resources and financing to start up a business. I think very little has been mentioned in this budget statement. In fact, I was quite surprised that there was no continuity. Minister Shimi used to talk about the 121 constituency program that was financed by the Ministry of Finance and Enterprises. Very little has been mentioned about that. There was also a program around young skills and training, I think, under the same ministry, funded by the same ministry. Very little has been made mention. So I think the minister highlighted very broadly around the issues that ought to be addressed. But I think over time, and I hope that you would get the time to actually give more clarity on the strategies that this new administration would employ to address those issues. So I think generally it's a continuation, and also it's not a reflection, the budget is not a reflection of what cabinet says, and I think it's very important that the two speak to one another. If the head of state says, I am now merging the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Sports together, the budget ought to reflect that. So it doesn't make sense that we come to Parliament and now we're going to be addressing the debate in such a way that the vote for education and the vote for sports would not be one vote, but two different votes. So I think the marriage must also happen even here, where we're dealing with the nation's purse.
Unfortunately, the debating of the budget couldn't happen today and it's been postponed to the 1st of April. What matters will you be raising?
I think most of the matters that I just spoke about now, youth unemployment, Parliament is fortunate enough to have adopted a report by the House, by the Committee on Human Resources on youth unemployment. Now that report was adopted, but now it gives us an opportunity to follow on implementation. So some of those issues, we at least get another opportunity to follow up in terms of implementation. But some of the issues that I'll be raising would be issues around the National Youth Council, which I think is a looming crisis, and I think at some point we ought to have an honest conversation with one another, especially as young people of this country, whether the National Youth Council serves its mandate and whether activities that we've been hearing and been reading about in the newspapers and various outlets align with the mandate and whether what they're doing now align with the intent of the founders of that particular institution. So I think really I'll be speaking broadly, especially around the youth issues and also just institutional effectiveness and operations.
Madam Hengare, lovely speaking to you. Thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
When we come back, we just give a brief roundup with our economist in-house, Lame Kodada. Stay with us. Well, Lamek, thank you so much for sticking around. You've heard what the Honourable Minister of Finance has said, the Deputy Speaker, Katamelo, has said, and of course, a Member of Parliament, Ina Hangare, has said. But to start with, before we delve into your thoughts on their, pointers, what's your thoughts on today's budget?
Again, congratulations to the Minister.
Yeah.
Over a short period of time, but the budget is still tabled at 106.3 billion. You must think that Namibia, with a population of 3 million, having a budget of 106.3 billion, that's some work in there. And of course, this budget is today anchored on 4 pillars: economic development, social protection, youth empowerment, and again, food production. But I must support what Professor Mupanda said today, that we really need to see where the figures going exactly. So we may not have so much to say today, but we would be able to see, we are now able to see which ministry got what and in terms of what figures they got. I'm just happy that education got the biggest chunk this time at about 24.8 billion. followed by finance, 14.6 billion. Somebody would argue that the Minister of Finance had to put so much money for herself, but it comes with the responsibilities.
Right.
We have health that got about 12.3 billion. So defense this time went to 7.5 billion. Ideally, like Prof. Mpanda says, we are waiting for that. We want to see exactly for this 24.8 billion of education. What, for example, goes to NAST? What goes to UNAM?
Correct.
What is going to support the VTCs?
An in-depth breakdown.
In-depth breakdown. So that I know will come, and we can maybe another day have a conversation on another day. But in overall, it was as expected. We got this budget, and the way the minister even acknowledged the previous minister had set the ground. So she found something to work with, but she still needed to put more work. Congratulations to her. The time was limited, but she has delivered.
Also, what Member of Parliament Ngari mentioned just before you was that, of course, we know that ministries have been merged, and I think you and I discussed it off air as well. But in the document and what was presented in terms of the budget just a few minutes ago in Parliament, we saw that allocations were made to these two ministries that have merged separately. Does it really make a difference? What's your opinion and thoughts on this?
Yeah, of course, remember that's what explains what we were talking about off air. That could be that by the time this budget was being done, there was no finalization of how the merging and the realignment was going to work. And now the minister was forced to give a vote to something. Maybe when the documents now come, you will see that the youth is now put together with education. But even that not being an issue, you realize that the sports got 1.3 billion specifically for sport infrastructure, building of the stadiums, and also just supporting the different sports codes. That is fair enough. I think even though there's no been mention of exact amount on the increase of the social protection, but there is some money allocated for that. So again, we are still waiting, but somebody may reason that that may not be good enough. We need to understand that it also depends on how much revenue we can generate, as much as how much we also put towards the debt that went to about 13.7 billion, so that we can reduce the level of debt in the country.
That 13.7 billion comes to about 4.9% of the GDP. In layman's terms, what does that mean for somebody watching and so?
It's in layman terms, it means that if you take your overall GDP, about 5% of it is going to be repayment of debt. So compared to other countries, you may still say that that's an average. There are countries that their debt levels are beyond that. So, and I think ever since the time of Shimi, we have seen that Namibia is really trying to push the debt level below. In this budget being tabled today, the minister still mentions of how the plans are to reduce that debt level towards the lower part of it. What came up again, we were talking about ministries being emerged, but what will happen to the expenditure? The operational expenditure goes to about 80 billion. So, of course, that much of it will be consumed from payment of salaries and all that. But I'm really positive about what I see. Given the speech that I've heard from the president, the new president, given the speech that I now hear from the current Minister of Finance, and she said in the end that we want every Namibian to watch what we are going to do with the allocations, so that we ensure that the money that is allocated is properly used. That gives me hope that at least the door is open for us to scrutinize and criticize, and we need to follow, as Prof. Mpanda has given us a platform, that when the document comes, let's be aware of what is in the document, so that when we are following up, we are able to ask, but this is what you said, this is what you've done. What happened to the difference?
Contextualize information.
Thank you very much about that.
Yes. What did you pick up on tax and revenue there, Lamek?
Of course, I was hoping we would hear something better. Of course, like we were preempting sin taxes. If you're now smoking or you are drinking, you must dig deeper. But the tax amnesty that allows people who owe the receiver of revenue is still extended to 2026. Like we say, every Namibian, me and you, we need to start paying. Let's make use of this amnesty. Let us not wait for the end of the amnesty period to start saying, oh, I was still planning. Let's start now. If we are able to repay these debts that we owe, the government is collecting some revenue. Therefore, we should also be able to say, no, we collected this much, so why are you not thinking about us? Reduce tax some more. But without us also not playing our part, it's difficult. But I hope this is something that we speak about. Like the president talks about it. This is not about Swapo. Yeah. This is not about Memenetumbo. This is about every Namibian child. We have been given a platform. We have been given a mandate. Let us work together to build our country.
Lamik, thank you so much for your time this afternoon, and it's your birthday, as I mentioned earlier, so we are even more appreciative that you took time out to sit with us today. Just your final remarks as we close off.
No, thank you very much, NBC. Thank you, Nina. We had a conversation, and I hope once the documents come back, we can have proper conversations, and then we also just inform our people properly of what is contained in the document.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Well, that was Mr. Lamik Odada speaking to us there. Of course, we're coming to hear from the Parliament. Earlier today, the Minister of Finance tabled the budget for the 2025-2026 financial year of the country. Of course, as he's mentioned, we still need to understand in depth how and where the allocation of these monies would go to have a more clearer conversation on some of the topics. But what has been clear is that the budget was built on the following policy pillars, that is economic development, social protection programs, youth empowerment, and food production. But stay tuned to NBC One, where we're bringing you more conversations. For now, though, it's goodbye from us here at Parliament. Until next time, thank you for watching.